How many of you saw this story about this woman? She was on probation. She didn't realize it was against the rules, against the law. She voted while she was on probation, even though she's a felon, even though she was technically barred from voting in Texas. She was sentenced to 5 years in jail. 5 years in jail for a mistake. No one in their right mind can believe that this woman was willing to jeopardize her future to cast a vote. She clearly just made a mistake, and this judge just threw the book at her.
The most insane part is that I saw a similar article of a white woman who tried to vote for Trump twice.
And they gave her $50.
Yeah. And the Russians sent her a cake. But no, she only got $750 fine and just some probation. That was it.
It is truly despicable. It's obviously a reminder of just sort of, the racial inequity and how we sentence people, but also just a reminder that this woman was mistaken in exercising her vote, but she's correct in thinking it's completely crazy that after she gets out of jail and she's paid her debts of society, where supposedly she's now supposed to go get a job and start a life and do what people do, that she's permanently barred from voting. It's actually counterintuitive. So of course she made the mistake. Why on earth would we bar felons from voting? We don't bar them from getting all kinds of jobs. We tell them that they've paid their debts, that that justice has been served, and then they're never allowed to vote again because it's a wholly racist policy designed to disenfranchise minorities in the South and elsewhere. I personally believe in a constitutional amendment guaranteeing citizens the right to vote in the United States. There is no positive right in the Constitution that guarantees the right to vote, and we should have one. It has landed on the NCAA, which I don't know what it is. Some sort of medical organization, an organization of national. No, so one thing that I always find fascinating as someone who is not super into sports is when the March Madness starts, the closer you get to the end, where the higher the end, the less people talk about it. Is it still happening? When the finals? Yeah, you people are keeping it a secret now. The first day, everyone's freaking the fuck out. By now, people are barely paying attention. All I wanted to say is, as someone who's an outsider to your culture of basketball, it is crazy that you don't pay these players. It is totally insane. We pulled some facts about it. First of all, people think that these guys all end up at the NBA anyway, but I guess it's is it 1% or something like that end up getting drafted? That 86% of players are below the poverty line because they're not paid and they're student athletes. That the coaches are making millions and millions of dollars. The schools are making millions of dollars. The TV networks are making millions of dollars. And these athletes are getting fucking shit.
This is something I can finally offer an opinion on. This is very exciting for me.
Hit us with an opinion.
Okay, first of all, I'm number one in my pool right now, so woohoo.
That's not,
Congrats.
you are not ingratiating yourself.
Sorry. But I went to Syracuse, and we just had one of our top recruits for next year drop out to go play for the NBA G League, which I didn't even know there was a G League, but apparently you get some money there. And so, pay them because we want them to play for college, or to play in college before, they go to or try to go to the NBA or go to the European leagues. And I mean, honestly, let's be honest, half of them get paid in college anyway, through, they get benefits from donors, they get things that you're not supposed to get. I mean,
but they're risking their careers, they're risking their education, they're risking their degrees.
Yeah, right? But I mean, it's such a common, unfortunately, I think it's such a common practice.
The whole thing is.
The whole thing is sketchy. I mean, the whole thing is sketchy. So, let's just be transparent about it. Like in politics, money in politics, let's be transparent about it.
I don't know if that's the lesson. Jaboukie, where's your head at on this?
I'm just feeling like it's kind of familiar to have a bunch of people of color working for free. Making white people a lot of money.
Why does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it seems kind of familiar. Very
Are you
American.
talking about music in the 50s?
Yes, that's exactly. I'm talking about the Temptations. But yeah, I mean, you're literally eroding your body for entertainment. You should be paid for that. It's not like you just regenerate to your 18-year-old self. When you leave college, they're accumulating injuries and they're not going into the NBA like new people. So yeah, pay them.
You disagree, Emily?
No, I agree. I agree strongly.
Who
I don't have anything interesting to say about it. I think it's like the type of thing where people really like to be like, oh, well, the free market decides who gets money for what. And it's like, this makes so much money,
Right.
and you're intervening to keep it from the students in a way. Like, you're not letting the... Anyway.
No, are there any reasonable people defending it still? Are there like TV heads that are like, I know it's popular to say we should pay them, but I say don't pay them? Is there one of those? Probably. Justice John Paul Stevens wrote an op-ed in the New York Times about repealing the Second Amendment. Brett Stevens, conservative writer, in the New York Times also wrote about repealing the Second Amendment. I have to say, it's this thing where when it's cast as the kind of, why won't it's almost always said like, if you really believed in gun control, you'd believe in repealing the Second Amendment, and it's often cast as the kind of extreme position in gun control, which in some sense it is, but it's also the dumbest position in that it's not going to happen. And if you say that we need to repeal the Second Amendment to have gun control, you are conceding an incredibly important argument, which says that you can't have common sense gun control under the Second Amendment, which is totally not true. We don't need to repeal the Second Amendment to pass the gun control we need to protect ourselves.
Just refer to the well-regulated militia line.
Yes,
yeah.
And the fact that the right to bear arms for an individual was hotly debated. The Heller case, which is the case that Stevens, what's it called when you go against it? Dissented in. Thank you. Where are my lawyers now? Nowhere. Dissented in, recognized that that the Second Amendment doesn't preclude common sense regulations. DC still has very strong gun laws. We had an assault weapons ban for a long time. So there's a lot of steps we can take to restrict access to dangerous weapons without having to talk about repealing the Second Amendment. It is a sucker's game. We are not going to repeal the Second Amendment. We are not going to be able to get that through Congress. We sure as hell shouldn't do a ratifying convention in all the states, which we've never done, which would be crazy. And we're never going to repeal the Second Amendment, and it's a sucker's game. So we should just talk about common sense gun control that we can pass without ever, very legally, very constitutionally under the Second Amendment. And that's all I wanted to say about that.